Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a different style of me doing an episode of Commander Banter because I have to take a couple decks apart, and I figured why not just record what I was running at the time. This is a black and white deck, an Orzhov themed deck around Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts. You could use Athreos, God of Passage as your commander if you don't have this. Eiley also makes a great addition, but you might want to go for a more token-based build to do that. This is a controller commander kind of thing. 7 mana for a 4/4 vigilance protection from creatures. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, destroy that creature. Put a 1/1 white and black creature with token with flying onto the battlefield. So she'll protect you by blowing up the enemy creatures and giving you dudes. So, let's show what dudes of our own we'll use. We have Soul Warden, for obvious life gain reasons. Soldier of the Pantheon for aggressive life gain reasons, because there's a lot of multicolored decks in Commander. Mother of Runes for her ability to tap and give a creature you control protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Naturally, you can't target Teysa since she has protection from creatures. But this will protect everything else, and there's a lot of good things in here. Like, there's High Priest of Penance, 2 mana cost, 1/1. Whenever he's dealt damage, you can destroy target not land permanent. Anything giving you a problem, throw this guy in the way of something big and use him as a chump blocker and blow something up. Vizkopa Guildmage. It's a 2/2 for 2 that can give a creature lifelink. Or you can pay 3 mana, and whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life, which can do some staggering things if you build around it. Stoneforge Mystic. She is a 1/2 for 2 that fetches you an equipment card in your deck and puts it into your hand, and then she can also cheat it into play for much cheaper later. There's only 4 equipment in the deck, but they're all pretty good. Sin Collector. This is a 2/1 for 3, but when he enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand, choose an instant or sorcery card from it, and exile that card. If you find a way to blink him, his effect can be devastating. Here's a way to blink him. Eldrazi Displacer, 3 mana for a 3/3 with Devoid, so he is colorless. But you can exile another target creature, then return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Use that on Sin Collector. Here's Athreos, God of Passage. He'd make a reliable commander here. He's a 5/4 for 3 mana, as long as you have 7 devotion in black and white. If you don't, he's just an enchantment, but he is indestructible. And whenever another creature you own dies, return to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. So you'll constantly be getting your critters back once you beat them down a bit. This is a card that can go in almost any commander deck, really, just because it will mana ramp you for 2 basic land cards for 3 mana, and you gotta sacrifice it. But he's an artifact, so there's ways to get him back. He'll dig out all the basics in your deck. This is Sad Robot, Solemn Simulacrum. 4 mana for a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield tap, shuffle your library. When he dies, you can draw a card. He's just pure value. Cryptcast. He's a 2/2 for 4. He has Extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you may pay a white or a black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. That's every time you cast a spell, you get the ability to do that, and you can do it. If you have multiple things with Extort, you can do it multiple times. But whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add 1 black to your mana pool, in addition to what mana you had tapped it for. So swamps will produce 2 black, minimum. He's very excellent, efficient ramp that also will bleed your opponent dry. This guy's a beat stick. He's just a 3/4 beat stick for 4, but he has lifelink, so he's gaining your life. Whenever a creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile the creature card, and then you get to put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So he makes these zombies, and he doesn't let your opponent's creatures go to the graveyard. And then you can sack your zombies, or another vampire, and put 2 blue +1/+1 counters on Kalida's Trader of Get. Big lifelinker. Never a bad thing. Ghost Dead. Ghost Council of Orzhova. 4 converted mana cost for a 4/4 Spirit Lord. When he comes into play, target opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. And you can pay 1 and sack a creature, remove Ghost Dead from the game. But then return it to play tapped. Oh, just return it to play under its owner's control at the end of the turn. That's right. So he protects himself by disappearing till the end of the turn whenever someone tries to target him with removal, and every time he blinks back into play, either through your Eldrazi Displacer or just his natural ability, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It will just bleed them dry. Death by 1,000 cuts. Gary, he likes devotion to black, so the more black mana symbols you have on the board, the more damage this does. And when he enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to life lost this way. Use Eldrazi Displacer on this to gain crazy amounts of life. Divinity of Pride. This will give you 5 devotion in black or white, your choice. It's a flying lifelink, 4/4 for 5, but he also gets +4/+4 as long as you have 25 or more life. In Commander, you start with 40 life, so he's generally an 8/8 flying lifelinker. Archangel of Thune. 3/4 flying beat stick for 5 mana, has lifelink. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on every creature you control. This will make your army huge fast. Sun Titan. It's a 6/6 vigilance for 6 mana, and whenever he attacks or enters the battlefield, you can return any permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever he enters the battlefield, blink with Eldrazi Displacer. Whenever he attacks. That can also target land, just so you know. We can also run the Grave Titan. He's a 6/6 for 6 as well, but he has Death Touch instead of Vigilance. But whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, put 2/2/2 zombies onto the battlefield. Every time he hits the battlefield, whether you're blanking him, or whether, I don't know, maybe you're blanking him, maybe you're just playing him, maybe you're attacking with him. He makes zombies, lots of them. Kalidas likes zombies. Kukusho is a little indifferent to zombies, but Kukusho is also a Dragon Spirit legend, 5/5 flying for 6. When he dies, every opponent loses 5 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So you have 5 people at the table, you just gain 25 life, and they all lost 5. And they all probably hate you. Triskelion, 6 mana for a 1/1. Comes into play with 3 +1/+1 counters on it, so it's technically a 4/4. Remove a +1/+1 counter from Triskelion. He deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Seems like a very odd card to throw in here until you put this in front of it. 6 mana cost for Mikaeus the Unhallowed for a 5/5 Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other not human creatures you control, like this guy here, get +1/+1 and have Undying. So if it dies with Undying, if it died with no +1/+1 counters on it, it comes back into play with a +1/+1 counter on it. This comes into play with 3 already. And basically what you're looking at is an infinite damage loop. You just have to keep using the last counters to kill the Triskelion. Mikaeus will bring it back to life. And then you just keep going. Treasury Thrall. It's another extort trigger, as you can see, for 4/4 for 6. Whenever he attacks, you may return target artifact, creature, or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Butcher of Malakir. It's a Grave Pact on a 5/4 vampire with flying. Which means whenever any of your creatures die, every opponent has to sack a creature. This is Ashen Rider. This is Eldrazi Displacer's favorite target. He's 8 mana for a 5/5 flying Archon. But whenever he enters the battlefield or he dies, you exile target permanent. So you keep blanking them, exile their lands. They're screwed. They hate you. That's how life works. Let's go into Planeswalkers, I guess. We have Sorin. You use him just basically to buff your army and give them lifelink until you can hit that -6 right there and make it so your opponent is sacrificing a creature every turn. Very hard to recover from that. Liliana Vess, she's mostly here for that -2 because it searches your library for a card, and then you shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. -8 will win you the game. This is Ob Nixilis the Reignited. I just think he's the most fair black Planeswalker ever printed. Draws you cards, he destroys creatures, and his emblem basically says whenever anybody draws a card, whoever has the emblem loses 2 life. So eventually they will die. Because everybody has to draw a card every turn, right? Elspeth Sun's Champion wins games. It's 6 mana for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +1. I only have 2 of them here in my hand, but +1 gives you 3 1/1 soldier tokens. The -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater, and the -7. You get an emblem, which looks like this. And the emblem says, creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying. Emblems cannot be targeted, they cannot be destroyed. That is just there for the rest of the game if you can get the ultimate off, and that will win you the game. So protect Elspeth if you can, because she'll make you an army, and then she'll beat them to death with it. Our enchantments, Phyrexian Reclamation. This is just constant, reusable sources of getting creatures back from the graveyard. Blind Obedience. This is another extort trigger that you will like. But it also causes artifacts and creatures your opponents control to come to play tapped, so they can't be used that turn generally. Phyrexian Arena is very simple. It draws you a card at the beginning of your upkeep and you lose 1 life, so you'll be getting an extra card every turn. If that's not enough, you can play cards like Greed and pay life and draw cards whenever you want. Sanguine Bond says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, so people will start dropping like flies when this hits the board. Black Market. Before your attack phase, you have a main phase. It is called your pre-combat main phase, and that's when you play your sorceries and stuff. You also get a main phase after combat. But this triggers before combat, and it gives you a black mana for each counter on this card. Whenever a creature dies, you put a charge counter on it, so this will get very big very quickly, and then you get a whole ton of free mana to cast your big bombs. And it wouldn't be white-black without some removal, right? Path to Exile. Don't think I need to explain why Path to Exile is in here. Swords to Plowshares. It's Path to Exile, but instead of getting a land, they gain a little life. That's not a big deal. You'll be bleeding that from them soon enough. Death Grasp. This is something you can dump a lot of mana into to gain a bunch of life, and then if you have Sanguine Bond out, they'll lose more life. It will win you a game. Exsanguinate is also a great card to put there. Demonic Tutor. Go get whatever card you want. Put it in your hand. Done. So here's Ashes to Ashes and Dust to Dust, just because I like it. Ashes to Ashes removes two target non-artifact creatures from the game, does 5 damage to you. And Dust to Dust removes 2 target artifacts from the game. Then we have Anguished Unmaking. Exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Not a big deal. This will kill anything with Indestructible as long as you have the life to pay into X, which is whatever you want to pay. And this will kill anything with Indestructible. This will kill anything with Shroud. It's the best board wipe in the game in Commander as far as I'm concerned. Hero's Downfall. Just nice, simple, targeted removal. Destroy a creature or a Planeswalker. Blow it up. Utter End. Exile target non-land permanent at instant speed. Gone forever. Return to Dust. Artifact enchantments got you down. Cast this during your main phase and remove 2 of them from the game. You can also play it at instant speed and just target 1, so it's useful in that way. Debt to the Deathless. Dump a lot of mana into this, because each opponent loses 2 times X life. You gain life equal to life loss. This way with Sanguine Bond out, this is pretty much guaranteed to finish people. Wrath of God. Destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. Enough said. Crux of Fate. Choose one. Destroy all dragons, or destroy all not dragons. If you have dragons, it's handy. If you don't have dragons, it's just a board wipe. Diabolic Revelations. Cost 5 to cast, but then you can pay whatever you want after the 5. Then you search your library for up to X cards and put them into your hand. So get as many cards as you need out of your deck as mana you have to pay. Dark Petition. Go get a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. If you have 2 instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, add 3 black to your mana pool. So if you get a cheap card like Hero's Downfall, you can cast it for free. Merciless Eviction. Choose one. Exile all artifacts. Exile all creatures. Exile all enchantments. Or exile all planeswalkers. 6 mana. Remove your problem. Done. And we'll go over the lands right quick after we go over our super happy fun artifacts. We'll do these in reverse order. Why not? Batterskull. Hit them with it. Darksteel Plate. It's indestructible. Whatever it equips is indestructible. Hit things with stuff. Darksteel Ingo. It's indestructible and it generates mana, so it's really hard to get rid of. Good. Chromatic Lantern. Makes all your lands into City of Brasses that don't hurt you. It fixes your mana completely, and it taps for mana on top of it. Great card. Swiftfoot Boots. Equipped creature gets hexproof and haste. It can attack when you summon it, and opponents can't target it. So it's, Teysa likes that a lot. Nim Deathmantle. Something's about to die. You can pay 4 mana. It doesn't die. This gets equipped to it. And equipped creature gets +2/+2, has Intimidate, and is a zombie. A black zombie. So it'll keep your stuff alive, is what it's basically telling you. Sol Ring. Pretty much every commander deck runs this, because why wouldn't you? 1 mana for 2 mana. Okay. Expedition Map. Go get any land you need at any time you want. Enough said. Relic of Progenitus. This is just here to mess up. If anybody's doing graveyard shenanigans that isn't you, get rid of it. Blow it up. And then you can also exile it later. Exile all graveyards, and then draw a card. So it's a very useful card. Lands. Easy. 5 plains. 3 swamps. Fetch lands. Evolving Wilds. Go get a basic, put it in play tapped. Terramorphic Expanse. Go get a basic, put it in play tapped. Warp Landscape. Taps for colorless mana or pay 2, sacrifice it. Go get a basic, put it in play tapped. Windswept Heath. Go get a forest or a plains, put it onto the battlefield after you pay 1 life. No forest target, but you can get plains. Flooded Strand. Same thing, but plains and islands. No islands, but you can get plains. Polluted Delta. Island or swamp. There's no islands. Go get the swamp. Bloodstained Mire. Swamp or mountain. There's no mountains. Go get the swamp. Now here's our duels. Scoured Barrens. Enters battlefield tap. Gains your life. Taps for both colors of mana. Forsaken Sanctuary. Enters battlefield tap. Taps for both colors of mana. Isolated Chapel. Enters battlefield tap unless you control a plains or a swamp. Then it doesn't. Taps for both. Orzhov Basilica. Comes into play tapped. You have to return a land you control to its owner's hand. But it also taps for a white and a black. It gives you 2 mana. Godless Shrine. It's a plain swamp. It taps for white or black. You have to pay 2 life to keep it untapped your first turn. Temple of Silence comes into play tapped, but you get to scry ones. You get to fix the top of your library, and it taps for both colors of mana. Caves of Koilos. It taps for both colors of mana if you're willing to take 1 damage, or it'll just give you a colorless, which is fine. Shambling Vent. It comes into play tapped. It taps for both colors of mana, but it also turns into a 2/3 white and black elemental creature with lifelink until end of turn, if that's your thing. Nothing to shake your nose at. Temple of the False God. Tap to add 2 mana to your mana pool, but you can only activate it if you control 5 or more lands. Commander staple. Urborg. This turns every land into a swamp. So Crypt Gas, Cabal Coffers, all that stuff gets way better because of this card. Speaking of Cabal Coffers, pay 2 tap, add a black to your mana pool for each swamp you control. Teams very well with Urborg, don't you think? Nick throws Shine to Dix. This plays with Devotion, but it's the same thing as Cabal Coffers, but you usually say Devotion to black, and it'll add mana equal to your Devotion to black. You can also say white, depending on your board state. Baron Moor. Taps for a black, and it cycles. Secluded Steppe. Taps for a white, and it cycles. Vivid Marsh. Taps for a black, or you can use one of the 2 charge counters to add a mana of any color to your mana pool. Vivid Meadow. Same thing as the Vivid Marsh, except it gets white instead of black. Valrath Stronghold. Recycle your creatures over and 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 over again. Very good card. Westvale Abbey. If you have 5 creatures in play, transform this. It turns into Ormondal, the Profane Prince, a 9/7 flying lifelink indestructible haste demon. To transform it, you need to pay 5 tap, sacrifice it, sacrifice 5 creatures, and then transform the land. Command Tower. Taps for any mana that your commander is, so any mana you would need, white or black. City of Brass. Taps for any mana, deals damage to you every time it's tapped. Forbidden Orchard. Tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Whenever you tap it, one of your opponents gets a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Mana Confluence. Tap to add 1 mana to your mana pool, pay a life to do it. It's just like City of Brass. Opal Palace. Depending on how many times you have to recast Teysa, this can make her fucking huge. So it's useful. And that is the commander deck for Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts. I'm probably taking this deck apart to make a Laurel, but that'll be fun. Let me know what you thought of the deck, what improvements you'd make, what you change, what Kaladesh cards you put in there, since this deck lacks Kaladesh cards because it was built before Kaladesh. Until next time, it's Dottie saying bye-bye.